DC Comics has created a new universe known as the Absolute Universe. In this new world, Wonder Woman is simply a goddess of war created in hell. If you haven't seen the video about the first issue, I'll leave it here in the cards and the pinned comment so you can get more familiar with this fresh take on Wonder Woman. I'm Andrew the Geek Master, and in this video, we're diving deeper into the origins of Absolute Wonder Woman. We'll uncover more about the weapons she wields and also see the introduction of Steve Trevor. To make sure you don't miss stories like this, click the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and let's get started. The chapter begins with Wonder Woman battling a powerful monster known as Harbinger Prime, alongside several flying creatures that resemble those we often see in sci-fi movies. The fight between Diana and the monsters is being broadcast on the Gate TV channel, which is not only stunned by the creatures, but even more by this mysterious, super-powered being fighting them. During the fight, Diana receives help from her skeletal Pegasus, which breathes fire at the enormous monster. Additionally, Diana herself uses her lasso, which can burn the monster's skin. She warns that this is just a taste of what's to come and gives the monster a chance to retreat. Otherwise, it will die. However, this only enrages Harbinger Prime further, prompting it to send smaller creatures toward Wonder Woman. This wasn't exactly what the Princess of Hell had hoped for, but she was ready for it. She casts a spell, creating a magical shield in front of her for protection, and gives Harbinger Prime a final warning: retreat or face death. When the massive creature gives her no other choice, Diana attacks it, binding it with her lasso called Nemesis. This lasso was forged in the fires of hell, crafted by the sorceress Circe using the remains of the last basilisk, infused with Prometheus's blood, and blessed by Demeter, the goddess of the harvest. According to Diana, when the lasso binds someone, it burns them in proportion to their sins. Given Harbinger Prime's history of killing innocent lives, the lasso causes him immense pain. The monster begs the Amazon to release him, to which Diana responds that she'll do so on one condition: he must leave this place and never return. Additionally, he must deliver a message to whoever summoned him. This world is now protected by Diana of the Wild Isle, Princess of Hell, the last Amazon, and all the forces under her command. To everyone's surprise, the monster agrees to her terms and begins retreating to where it came from, taking all the creatures with it. It knew that returning to its master would result in its death, but it seemed to prefer that over facing Diana. However, the narration reveals that this wasn't the end. After the battle, as the monsters withdraw, a man approaches Diana, calling her by name. The Amazon is visibly surprised to recognize the man's voice. She turns around and calls him by his name, revealing that this is none other than Steve Trevor. The scene then shifts to a flashback years ago in Hell, specifically on the Wild Isle, the home of Diana and Circe. One day, as Diana was walking along the shores of the island, she spotted an injured man on the beach. She approached him and tried to communicate, but they couldn't understand each other at first, since Diana spoke Greek and Steve spoke English. To solve this, Diana used a spell to speak the same language as Steve. However, at that moment, a Hydra tentacle emerged from the depths and dragged Steve underwater. Naturally, Diana wasn't about to let the man become a Hydra's snack. She dove into the water, rescued Steve, and carried the unconscious man to her home to seek her mother's help. Interestingly, what impressed Circe the most wasn't the man's presence, but how casually Diana fought the Hydra. After tending to Steve's wounds, Diana told her mother, Circe, that she felt responsible for the man's life. While Circe found this admirable, she didn't agree with her daughter's sense of duty. When Steve woke up, he initially thought he was in Greece because he'd heard Diana speaking Greek. But when Diana revealed they were in the Underworld, or Hell, he panicked, assuming he had died. Diana tried to calm him, explaining that this was the most peaceful island in hell, but she realized he needed time to process this revelation. Meanwhile, neither Diana nor Cersei could understand why Steve had ended up there. Diana speculated it might be a test, a trap, or perhaps a gift from the gods. Later, as Steve regained his composure, he thanked them for their hospitality and care, saying he owed them his life. He introduced himself as a pilot in the United States Air Force and asked Diana to show him where she had found him. As they walked together, they began to know each other better, planting the seeds for a possible romance. For instance, when Diana pointed out the tip of a hydra's tentacle visible in the sea, Steve couldn't see it. He remarked that his vision was excellent. After all, pilots need perfect eyesight, but acknowledged that Diana's sight was even sharper. He also noticed how tall Diana was, standing at the same height as him. He noted that women as tall as her were rare in his world. Diana was curious about Steve's world, but he couldn't stop wondering how he had ended up in hell. He considered himself a good person and didn't understand why he was there. Diana reassured him, saying that not everyone belongs to this place. Sometimes people end up there for reasons that aren't always fair or just. In the present, Diana and Steve embrace, and their reactions of surprise and excitement suggest they haven't seen each other in a long time and parted on good terms. Despite this heartwarming reunion, Trevor explains that he has orders to escort Diana to meet his commanding officer, a directive she graciously agrees to follow. Diana knows many people won't appreciate her help. Her mother had taught her about the world of men, so she's more than prepared to deal with it. Not long after, in what seems to be a headquarters, Commander Cole reprimands Wonder Woman, accusing her of endangering many lives. He claims she has no military clearance and even implies she might be an ally of the monsters. To everyone's surprise, Diana responds calmly, saying she understands the commander's position. She acknowledges that she's an outsider he cannot control, and that frustrates him. But, she adds, that's not her problem. His problem is that monsters are coming, and only by working together can they save more lives. She then asks about the evacuation status, warning that the monster she drove away was merely a messenger. Something far greater is coming, and although she doesn't know exactly what it is, she's sure it will arrive soon, within the hour. With this information, the commander orders his men to speed up the evacuation. Then, in an arrogant tone, he warns Diana to do whatever she needs to do, or she and Steve will face court-martial. At this point, Diana puts the commander in his place, reminding him that given the situation, he needs her far more than she needs him. She advises him to rethink how he wants to approach this conversation and try again when he's calmed down. In the meantime, she says she'll be outside feeding her horse. A few moments later, Steve Trevor joins Diana outside and finds her speaking to her horse, Pegasus. As Diana explains, Pegasus is the great winged horse from mythology, born from Medusa's blood and killed by Zeus, which is why he's now just a skeleton kept alive by magic. Steve apologizes for what happened inside. Diana admits she expected that kind of behavior, but reassures him that in this world, there are other heroes who will soon step in to help as well. At that moment, both Pegasus and Diana begin to hear a deafening noise approaching. Diana quickly warns Steve to cover his ears, but it's not the sound they should fear. It's what comes after it. When Diana looks up, she is awestruck by the size of the looming threat. She begins to pray, claiming she's now seeing the face of Tetracide, and no one who lays eyes on it survives. After all, it is death personified. Despite this, Diana boldly moves toward the massive creature, which dwarfs Harbinger Prime from earlier. Seeing the size of the creature, Diana immediately instructs the commander to expand the evacuation zone, not just 2 kilometers as planned, but the entire city. The chapter ends with absolute Wonder Woman walking toward the creature, pleading for the god's protection, as Tetracide leaves nothing alive in its path. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I ask that you comment on what you think about this new version of Wonder Woman. To see the continuation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like to support us. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next adventure.